Hey everybody, and welcome to another amazing episode of Finding Peaks. Yours truly, President, Founder, and CEO, Christopher Michael Burns. So grateful to be joined by our new clinical director, Dr. Marissa Prince. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. This is a new season of peaks, a new energy coming into 2024. And Marissa has been on staff for about a month now?
Almost, yeah.
So almost 4 weeks now, and she's already got into the process and really informing a lot of the things we do. And so I just want to introduce the community to one of our most dynamic professionals and newest employees, Marissa. So let's get right into it.
Okay.
One of the things that really compelled me early on, specifically in the interview process, was it was kind of wrapped around your why and how you got into this field, some of your family experience early on, some of that developmental process, family history, and then moving into kind of this professional life and the goals that you've set and walked through. And you've been in so many different places and situations and scenarios of which you've drawn experience from. And I just want the viewers to learn a little bit more about, what motivates Dr. Prince? Why did you get into this? And at such a young age, been able to pursue and be a part of so much.
Absolutely. So I'm a first-generation American, first-generation college student. My father's from Ethiopia, and my mother is Puerto Rican. And so my father fled Ethiopia, fleeing the genocide of the fascist government. And so him and my mom married and eventually separated in my early childhood. And he didn't have a model of what a father was. His father was killed by the fascist government in Ethiopia. And so my father kind of dissipated out of my life after that. And I was left with a single mom and a little sister. And so my mom worked hard to show us, hey, get an education, follow a good path. And I worked even harder to find a different path. And so in my teens, I fought my way through Colorado Springs schools, 6 of them, and I ended up graduating out of the 7th high school. But I was always intelligent. I always did well in school. I just like to hit people sometimes.
Yeah. Turns out sometimes it's a coping mechanism.
And I had dealt with colorism in my community, and so I think it was kind of this, I'm going to hurt you first before you could hurt me. And my mom looked at me when I was much older. I was 18. I was a teen mom, so I had my first child very early. And she said, you're going to die. You're not going to live to see 21. And at that point, I said, there's no way. I can't leave a child behind. So I enrolled in school for an undergraduate in political science. I was going to be a lawyer because I said, what can I do to change the lives of people who were like me? And I thought, high-profile defense attorney, I'm going to be rich and save all of the people like me. And as I started my education, I had a class with Ronald Smith. He was my first psychology professor, and I said, this is what I need to do. And then, of course, as I progressed through my undergraduate, I said, I'm going to be in the BAU for the FBI and chase down serial killers. And then I remembered I didn't like to run.
That running thing.
So I went to graduate school and got a few master's degrees, one of them being in clinical mental health. And at that point, I started to teach, and I continued to pursue my education to get a PhD in psychology. So I chose to be who I needed and to provide assistance to the individuals like me in different realms. So although I did not suffer from substance abuse, I still suffered from something else. And so I needed to help those who were suffering.
I love that, Dr. Prince, and thank you so much for sharing with me and some of the viewers that experience. It's interesting too, because I would consider you to be somebody in long-term recovery from just a disconnected system of which you were brought into.
Right.
And I think it really speaks volumes to the viewers today, because a lot of the folks that are coming into our programming now, they don't struggle with substances. They have family systems, generational disconnectedness. Right. And I think it's important to mention that you can find healing for that as well, and here at Peaks. And one of the other questions that I have for you is, what do you think professionally, some of the other things you've done professionally has prepared you to have such, what I would consider to be, at least I've seen over the last 4 weeks, equanimity in the face of behavioral health crisis?
Yeah, so I have worked a range of jobs in my career in psychology. I started off working with kids with autism. And so I was a behavioral interventionist, and that's what I did. And as I progressed, I have always kind of steered in the path of severe and persistent, what we would refer to as severe and persistent mental health, whether inpatient, outpatient. So I've worked just right up the street from us and served many of the displaced individuals in Colorado Springs. And then I had, I would say, the pleasure of gaining information and working in the prison system. And I worked from maximum security all the way down to pretty low security. And maximum, I was ADSEG, I worked CSP, some pretty hardcore individuals, but they weren't lost, right? And so, and from there, I've worked at one of the largest facilities, inpatient rehabilitation facilities in the nation, one of the largest in the state for sure. And as you know, I was a 7 to 7 person. And I even was like, why do I need an office?
Yeah, we're here.
I'm never there, yeah. And so I have never wanted to be complacent. And so when I came to Peaks, I told our HR person, I'll see you at 7.
Wait, what?
And she said, no, you don't need to be here.
I thought we were doing this.
And I was like, oh, I was ready, you know. And so just that vast experience. And then I was a professor for almost a decade. I counted this morning, right when I was coming in here, over 3,000 students over that time period I've had. And many of them today are clinicians in our state.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I love that you mentioned the death row thing. That was one of the things I brought up, you know, or the team brought up, said, how do we know when you're stressed? He's like, yeah, probably won't see it very often because of the situations, scenarios that I've been a part of. One of the stories that you chatted with me about on death row is, because I have a tough time with the punitive direction in which our legal system goes for a lot of different reasons, because people are struggling with mental health issues. And we talked about believing that everybody has value. We believe in healing for even some of the most worst, heinous of crimes. And you tell a story of people that were on 23-hour lockdown where you would just go and hold space and talk. Why'd you do that?
So something that we spoke about is if you treat people like animals, they act like animals. But if you treat them like humans, they will be humans. And it's illegal to lock a dog up in a cage for 23 hours a day, but we do it to humans across this nation every day. And just to have a conversation, I've learned so much from inmates, from these people who are locked up across the United States, just hearing them talk. And I've learned information about the law. I've learned how to make tamales out of chicken. With the
Doritos and stuff?
Doritos, yeah, Doritos and dried chicken, like the meat sticks.
The cheese whiz. Yeah.
I mean, and you know, something I've always said to people is they like to call us individuals with these degrees essential people of society. But all I know how to do is read a book really well. I can't fix a society that will crumble. I don't know how to go outside and fix the ground, right, the concrete. So am I essential, or are those people who have learned to survive more essential than me?
Yeah, that's a big deal. And I love that you say that, because it really shines a light on like value for individuals and humans. And I think for whatever reason in our culture, we've displaced that and led others to believe that they're less valuable through the way that we communicate with our systems approach. And a lot of times, in my opinion, the systems just need a bit of restructuring so that they can speak clearly to people's value, so that they too can see the light at the end of the tunnel of healing and growth. Otherwise, to your point, it makes a tremendous amount of sense. I acted quite a bit like an animal until I got some people around me that spoke truth into me, which was light and love through the recovery community. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Of course.
With being the clinical director of the team, what are you most excited about heading into your second month with us?
So I am so excited to review the curriculum. Myself and our executive director will be doing that next week, and we are going to start moving things around. We are abreast of new curriculum and being on top of our game in this field, and so start implementing more advanced, more up-to-date curriculum while we're here.
I love that too, and it's really nice because there's what we have in place right now has been pretty functional for a handful or a variety of people. Right. I think a couple opportunities to integrate some skill building and some insight on that side of things, specifically not just in our inpatient program, but the outpatients, the levels of care, and really tying those together and marrying them in a really efficient way, probably for the first time. Yeah. I'm really, really excited about that because we've definitely had those curriculum meetings, but really being sure that we're like carrying out this mission and vision in an appropriate way, in a more connected way into the future. Not only satiates the team and allows people to settle there, but the client milieu as well. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. One of the reasons that I really connected with you initially is your willingness to be distrustful when things need disrupting, right? You're very, I would say, more pragmatic in that regard. You come in and you assess things and you're willing to say, that doesn't look right, and let's make a change. Where does that come from? How do you form such good edges? You have great boundaries. You speak so clearly to the team, and you do this thing that I really struggle with, which is like say no, and people still trust you.
Right. So something that I have always said was you should never be the smartest person in the room, because then you're in the wrong room. And I heard that phrase when I was in an undergraduate program, and a professor that I highly regarded said that. He said, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Right. And he said, question everything, be curious, because we don't want you to be complacent. So that is something that I've done throughout my career, is I'm never the smartest person in the room. And when I thought about it as an undergraduate student, I said, you are the smart. He had like 4 PhDs. Yeah. I was like, you are.
Pretty sure.
And I talked to him about it, and he said, I'm never the smartest person in the room. He said, you have so much more to offer me than I have right now. And this man also learned to live off of tire refrigerators. Like, he had no electricity in his house. He was just such a cool guy.
Yeah.
But when I go into a room, I easily build rapport because I can easily relate to individuals on a personal level. And then I carry myself with my own boundaries. And so when I present them, I'm going to present them kindly. But also I'm going to present them in a way that, hey, we need to get this done. So I stay curious.
I love that too, and curious is such a catchy word for me lately.
Yeah.
I'm really, really liking it. But what that does is it allows, because I can remember in the early parts of my career, and shoot, the vast majority of our team, at least 50% of them are not graduate level students, aren't doctors. And so what you do when you walk into a room and you assume I'm not the smartest person in the room, because what you said was it doesn't always have to do with this educational side. People have experiences that they've lived that are really, really valuable and that matter a lot. And I've seen that with our culture. You've been able to walk in not just in a clinical room, but the residential side, and people feel valued in their interactions. And
I love that. It seems to have permeated from that professor into your day-to-day.
Absolutely. Every day I walk in and I think this person has so much more to offer me than I have to offer them. And I appreciate every single person. As I said, I was raised by someone, my entire family, I was the first one to go to college. I was the first one to finish. And so I know that my grandfather, who had a GED and served in the military, was vastly more experienced in life than I was. And he gave me some great advice in life. So.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. I love that you had that initial kind of human, family, generational experience. It created this why, and you move into this professional opportunity, and you have so much compassion and empathy and insight because of that, which really creates an opportunity for you to be a really well-rounded professional. And we're just so grateful to have you at Peaks, and the clients are grateful to have you, the team. You can tell since you've been there, even though we're getting to work, it's like people are settling and feeling connected with, and a lot of that has to do with you, so really, really appreciate that.
Thanks.
Absolutely. What is your experience in the time that you spent at PRC? In your opinion, what makes Peaks Recovery Centers so special?
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. So I walked into a room for an interview with yourself and our CGO, and I sat in this room from day one and felt not just heard, but listened to. And that, from your perspective, you're an owner. Who am I? You know, who am I, this person coming in for an interview? But I felt appreciated and I felt listened to. And as I've been here for a month, I see that our clients are treated the same way. They get individualized care. They're not just heard.
They're listened to, and what is best for the client is followed. And I appreciate that. And that's not true for every
place that I've worked, and it's not true for every facility out there.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, thank you for that. It's really indicative a lot of times, like how you treat your clients is probably pretty similar to the way you treat your team. You know,
Absolutely.
So I love that you connected with that, because that's a really important aspect of what we do and how we do it, not just with the individuals we serve, but the team members. And I always like to bring this up on the show, but when we started the program 10 years ago, it was the Theodore Roosevelt quote that says, "Nobody cares what you know until they know that you care."
Yeah,
It's one thing to do it with clients, but to allow professionals to experience that same energy
absolutely.
is really, really important to us. So I'm grateful that you experienced that.
Yeah.
Lastly, Dr. Prince doesn't only work at Peaks and guide our team and our clients into healing, but she does a lot of work in the community. I want to allow the viewers to get to know a little bit of some of your causes that you're passionate about and what you're doing in the community to make this world great one day at a time.
Oh, thanks. So when I came in to Peaks, one of the things that I informed everyone is I said, hey, I need a few days off a month, because it's something I'm so passionate about is to dismantle the cradle to prison pipeline.
Yes.
And I do this through building leadership skills with youth in our community. And so Peaks has been so gracious to let me take those days to go to and serve over 300 students in Colorado Springs and help them build those leadership skills, help them build financial literacy and all of these different things. Currently in my car, I have 50 bags to go deliver to foster care students across Colorado Springs, just up the street, because we complete service learning projects. So just as though I am helping those students, they are helping their own communities.
That's rad.
Yeah.
Cradle to prison. Talk to me just a little bit before. What is that? What were you seeing there? Is this like, is it family systems that are incarcerated, or is it?
Absolutely.
What is the?
I think it's a community as a whole. So what we see this line, and it's often called
the school to prison pipeline. But we know that it starts way before the school systems get in.
Impoverished and minority students are more likely to enter the criminal justice system than any other person in the United States. They're also likely to get harsher sentences, specifically related to drugs and alcohol violations. And so oftentimes implicit bias is seen as this child of color is the dealer, but this child of Caucasian or white descent is an addict. And so there are judges here in Colorado Springs who have said that is how they thought. So it starts when we think of poverty, and it starts epigenetically before a child is even born. Their risk of being in prison goes up tremendously. And so if we can disrupt that, they are more likely to complete. And something with the organization that I volunteer and work with, 100% of our students have not entered the criminal justice system, and 90% of our students, after completing our program, say they will pursue higher education or military service.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is absolutely incredible. And I kind of got like chills when you said that. I was like, wow, that is changing the world one day at a time. I think we talk about it a lot and we kind of throw it out there, but it's, if you show up and put that best foot forward, we have this authentic opportunity to make serious, incredible, and identifiable change in this world.
Absolutely.
And I love that. I love your cause. I love your mission. I love the passion behind it. I love that we have you here at Peaks now. And I'm looking forward to fulfilling our mission and vision with a great professional, but an even better human. Dr. Prince, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks
I'm
for
excited
coming
to be
on.
here.
Absolutely. Catch us next time on all of your favorite podcast locations, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, my people, peace.